Arsenal 4, Tottenham Hotspur 0 in the WSL North London derby. Before we even get to the game, Sophie Lawson, a record attendance for a WSL fixture. More than 53,000 tickets sold and nearly 48,000 through the gate. So the feel-good factor from the summer looks like it's continuing.
Absolutely. I think we saw a bit of this in 2019. We're seeing more of it now. Of course, having the home Euros helped. And Arsenal very smart to pick out the North London derby to have their first match. At the Emirates, I think that's always going to be one that gets fans through the stands. But as we say all the time, it's about making sure that it's sustained and we see it week in, week out, regardless of where the teams are playing.
Yeah, you're speaking from the press box at the Emirates, having watched a game, a pretty one-sided game. We thought it might be, and that's exactly the way it turned out. 2 goals in each half, but Arsenal looked good, didn't they?
Absolutely. I think it was disappointing from a Spurs point of view because we think this is going to be a better season for them. They did come in with some injury issues, but it was Arsenal dominance right from the whistle. And yeah, it's quite worrying if you're a Spurs fan after watching that performance because it's not just the result; it's how on the ropes Arsenal had them for 90 minutes.
The first goal was well taken by Beth Mead, who got a wonderful ovation throughout, especially when she was substituted and made her way all the way around to a standing ovation. But I want to talk about the second goal for Arsenal. I get the fact that goalkeepers now are part of football as far as with the ball at their feet, not just making saves. But when you try and play out from the back, you've got to have good enough players to be able to do that. The pass from the goalkeeper to the defender wasn't good enough. The defender's touch was heavy, and Miedema getting in to make it 2-0. Can you learn lessons if you're Spurs? And if you can't do it, don't try it.
I think the main lesson is don't do it. It was a bit of a new look back line. Players not necessarily in their most comfortable positions, but I think you could see all through the first half the concentration wasn't great. The Spurs just didn't look comfortable, and it was just a complete and total lapse from them to allow that to happen and the turnover. But well taken goal, but I think Spurs, you just come away from the whole match saying we need to be better in every way.
Well, it's gifting the opposition goals as well, because the third and fourth goals in the second half, both from set plays. The third goal was the header by Raffaele, the Brazilian defender, who wasn't really challenged. And the fourth goal played short, and Miedema getting her second goal. That's something that Spurs can work on, and Arsenal are good enough. They don't need any additional gifts.
Well, I think Arsenal will be happy to have any gifts anyone want to give them. But yeah, from Spurs, I think you always hear managers say they hate conceding at set pieces. That they're easier to defend than Spurs made them look. But I think Arsenal, you've got more and more of these big players, these players who are very good in the air. These sort of either type players like a Raffaele or a Miedema, who are harder to defend even if you try and defend them because they do have that height advantage. But I think step one is try to defend.
Now, looking ahead, we've got a small sample size so far. Arsenal have won their first 2 games by 4-0, and they've looked really good. Chelsea, in their first game, lost at Liverpool. Just 1 point separated the 2 sides in the league last season in Chelsea's advantage. From what you've seen so far, would you make Arsenal the title favourites, even at this early stage of the season, or do you still think it's Chelsea's to lose?
I wish you were asking me that tomorrow after I've seen Chelsea for the second time. I think it was very close last season. You said there was 1 point in it, and there was a big dip in Arsenal's form as they kind of had to adjust to the new manager. So I think there are points that were there as well. But I think if it comes down to the head-to-head between Chelsea and Arsenal, what I've seen over the last few seasons in WSL is Chelsea, even though Arsenal did win on the first day of last season, is I think Chelsea just win that head-to-head historically. So I'm not going to say it's Arsenal's at the minute. I'm not going to say it's Chelsea's at the minute. I'm saying let's see what happens after the Man City game that Chelsea are playing tomorrow, and then we can talk about it a little bit more. But these are definitely the 2 teams we're expecting to be battling for it.
Sets up a nice one in midweek, doesn't it, in the Champions League? Ajax against Arsenal now.
Absolutely, and I think Arsenal were a little bit surprised by how the first leg of the Ajax game went, especially as it's come between two quite calm and easy looking 4-0 wins. But they're not going to want to go out of Europe, especially not to a young group of Dutch upstarts. I think kind of assuming that this Ajax team are a bit young, they've still got some way in their development to go. I think Arsenal can probably should be able to go through the gears and let their experience in the competition start to show and try and force home that advantage, even though they're away.
Super performance from Arsenal today in front of a record WSL crowd at the Emirates. Everything went right for the Gunners. They beat Spurs in the North London derby by 4-0.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.